Колеги, зараз
Dear colleagues, now we begin the briefing of Colonel Andriy Lysenko, who is the spokesman of National Security and Defense Council. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. As to news from the area of ATO, armed forces of Ukraine continue offensive operation on the territory which is temporarily under terrorists on the east of our country. Last night, Ukrainian planes made big strikes and we destroyed groups of terrorists and military equipment outside of cities and towns. During a day, ATO forces 26 times they had battles and terrorists near Ambrosivka, Mayorovska, Sabivka, Berezova, Olenivka, Marinka, Dyakova, Shumy, Roskishne, Kamenka, Makarova, Volnukhino, Olkhovatka, Shakhtarsk, Mitrivka, Severomogila, and Airport Luhansk. ATO forces are under the strike of Russian Federation. Yesterday, from 10 o'clock for 4 hours, Russian military men were making strikes using artillery and ground systems positions of Ukrainian border guards not far from Vasilivka and Ambrosivka. The strikes were from Russian village Marfivka, from that position. At 6 o'clock in the evening from Auschwitz, they made strikes against Ukrainian Avrosivka and Ukrainian armed forces. From 10 o'clock in the evening for 3 hours, Ukrainian military units near Stanitsa Luhanska in Luhansk region were under the strike from mortars and artillery from Russian Federation. Then Russians moved those strikes deeper to Ukraine. In the midden, Russian military men made strikes from Hrad system against positions of Ukrainian airborne units from near Avrosivka. In 2 hours from Russia, they made a strike against Dyakov. Terrorists at 6 o'clock in the morning near border crossing point in Uspenka and Donetsk region, terrorists made strikes, was shooting at armless Ukrainian military men, 195 people who returned from Russian Federation, and they were supported by Ukrainian armed forces, and the attack was they protected and nobody suffered. And after long strikes from tanks and heavy cannons and ground system, and after they ran out of munition, they had to move to Russian territory. Then they exploded the rest of the equipment and they destroyed their weapons before they left. During the day, there were clashes with terrorists, between terrorists and border guards. Then yesterday it was near Rosivka and against terrorists, and they were trying to break through to Russia. They failed and to go through Ukrainian block post. That's why they had to move back. During the last day, there were effects of air intelligence with using drones near Donetsk and Kherson, over Donetsk and Kherson region. There were 5 cases of abusing Ukrainian airspace by Russian drones near Mariupol and along Kherson and Crimea, our territorial waters near Sedova village and not far from Port Mariupol, and over from military airport in Belgrade, Odessa region. Near borders border with Russia, there are new units of Russian Federation. 138 motor shooting brigade from Leningrad region, the Rostov region, and 25th motor striking brigade from Pskov region, and now it's at Belgorod region, and also units of 531st missile and mortar unit from the Murmansk region, and they are now in Kursk region. Here's a video from Russia, and he recorded for video movement of Russian equipment to Ukrainian borders. We are very thankful to our colleagues, journalists, and people who help us and who provide the photo and video information, which becomes evidence against aggression of Russian aggression to Ukraine. Yesterday, Ministry of Defense of Russian Federation began broad military tests and trainings, and they with 100 planes and there is fighters, Su-27, MiG-31, multifunctional systems, Su-34 bombers, Su-24 helicopters, Mi-8, Mi-24, Mi-28H, and technical anti-aircraft systems. The training will last until the 8th of August. Ukraine considers such unprecedented military trainings on the border with Ukraine as a provocation. The head of press office of State Department of the US, Jen Psaki, also told about her concern and the concern of the White House that Russia is holding provocational trainings of Air Force and anti-Air Force near the border of Ukraine. She condemned Russian Federation that Russia provides equipment, including missile systems, to terrorists and gunmen. The general number totally armed forces of Russian Federation along state border with Ukraine is about 45,000 people and 160 tanks, up to 1,360 armored vehicles, up to 350 artillery systems, 100 of different caliber, 130 missile system, and 192 aircraft, and 137 combat helicopters. At night, from the 4th to the 5th of August in Zhytomyr, there was a group which was planning terrorist acts, and there were Ukrainian citizens hired by Russian intelligence, and they had about 8 kilograms of explosives, and now they give evidence. As to the situation in this area of conflict, Slovyansk, we pay all the debts and social payments. Residents of those cities receive social payments, and the cities under the control of terrorists, where it's very difficult to get to deliver money, the payments are delayed. To receive social assistance, residents can move to cities where the system of payments, social payments, is working. Today, until today, 77,000 of those who were forced to move, they used that service. They need to register and sign an application to receive the social payments. Pension fund or the Department of Social Welfare, they will consider the applications first. And 22,000 of enforced of those who moved, they applied to get pensions. 4,000 they want to be hired at the new place of living. All people who moved away temporarily, they can call a hotline, hotline 101, or the government hotline 0800 507 307. International situation. There is artillery strikes from territory of Russia against Ukrainian armed forces that are near the border with Russia, and they continue to interfere into the airspace of Ukraine, and that is done by Russian aircrafts and drones. They bring more of armored vehicles and units of armed forces, and they settle along Ukrainian-Russian state border. As a result of strike, there are casualties, civilian casualties, and military casualties. They destroyed some facilities. And Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine again sent a note and protest, note of protest to Russia because of aggression against our state. And from the territory of Russia, there was artillery strikes against positions of the armed forces of Ukraine and near the border crossing point Dovzhansky, Dyakove, and Chervonopartizansk. Dyakove, Stanica Luhanska, and Luhansk region, and villages Rosivka and Donetsk region. In near Blahovishchenka, Gerasimivka, Zolotarivka, Krasnotalivka, Shiroka, and Yuhanivka of Luhansk region, there were interference into airspace of Ukraine by airplanes, by helicopters, Mi-8, Mi-24, 52 drones were coming from Russian territory, Russia to airspace of Ukraine near Dozhansky border crossing point, and villages Gerasimivka, Zolotarivka, Blahovishchenka, Yuhanivka of Luhansk region, and Sedove in Donetsk region. Russian special services continue to provide support to terrorist organizations, so-called DNR and LNR, and to send mercenaries to Ukraine to destabilize the situation. Russian weapons, and with the participation of Russians, they run military actions against Ukraine and Ukrainian people. One more time, we demand from Russia to stop such crimes directed against independence, sovereignty, and territorial integrity of Ukraine, to pull back troops from the border with Ukraine, and to join efforts of our state and international community with the goal of stabilization of the situation in Donetsk and Luhansk region. Ministry of Energy of the U.S. Stopped cooperation with the Russian Federation, stopped all the programs in the field of nuclear technologies except security of nuclear materials. Ministry of Economy of Germany, Sigmar Gabriel, announced that they cancel agreement with Russia and on built-in training center for Russia. And the framework of the practical realization of sectoral sanctions against Russia, Italy sees realization of a joint project of development of a submarine S-1000. The government of Japan approved a decision to introduce new sanctions against Russia. The list includes 40 people and 2 companies. New sanctions provide freezing bank accounts of physical and legal entities who are involved in the stabilization of the situation in Ukraine and annexation of Crimea by Russia. In addition to Japan introduced a prohibition for import some of goods from Crimea. This all official information.
Katerina Lysenko, News One. Please clarify this issue about Golden Gate's volunteer battalion. They were expelled from one premises and now they are not accommodated. Are you going to accommodate them somehow and use their services in the ATO? The information on the situation is not available. We'll clarify this issue and give you an answer. The 5th channel in Rodek about those military officers that are coming back from the territory of Russia. You're maintaining contact with them through the Ministry of Defense. Was it a diplomatic move or was it their breakthrough? Out of 311 military officers that found themselves in the territory of the Russian Federation, 195 were the first group coming back already to Ukraine. They were subjected to provocation. They were shelled by terrorists, and in the territory that is under control of the Ukrainian armed forces in order to blame it all on the Ukrainian armed forces, like treason and all that. People were convoyed, escorted back home. The accommodation was prepared for them for rehabilitation purposes. They were not armed, because attacking not armed soldiers is a ruthless provocation. And with the second part, talks are ongoing and they are still detained in the territory of the Russian Federation. And one clarification about the 11 soldiers in Shakhtarsk who disappeared. There's no information. UBR Kvartalno. Information pro-Ukraine campaign in Donbass. Can you specify how we can get the message across to the people who are still under control of terrorists, that their communities will be liberated, and if the combat is still on, it's for their liberation, not to conquer them, like the pro-Russian channels are telling them. There are many information channels through which we are trying to inform the locals, and they receive that information through our journalists, activists, and representatives of certain governmental services available in the field. They are sort of undercover, but they have communication with the locals. Out of 10 TV towers that we have in Donetsk and Luhansk Oblast, we have reinstituted 7. They receiving the signal, and we have 3 remaining. As soon as we liberate Donetsk and Luhansk, the Ukrainian population will start receiving all information available through Ukrainian TV channels for the correct picture and impression. So we try very hard to get all the honest information. There's exchange among locals in Kramatorsk and Slavyansk with their relatives in Donetsk and Luhansk, and they are communicating the real situation to their friends and relatives. The reconstruction process, water supplies, electric power supplies already available, and people know about that, and the communities that are deprived of such supplies because of the terrorist activities. This is the picture that we can convey through social media and mass media of all sorts, and we would thank you if you help us there. Olena Tkachenko and Tien, tell us please, are there any ongoing fights? Is there any fighting at Donetsk and Luhansk? Yesterday we had some information from the battalions that they are trying to enter the urban area, and the explosion that killed some DNR, so-called DNR rebels, and civilians that perished. Is there any information on the number? In the territory that is under control of terrorists, we cannot calculate casualties among the civilians. We can just reiterate that the Ukrainian forces do not shell, do not fire from aircrafts. This is the only monopoly that we should reserve for terrorists. About Donetsk and Luhansk, I have to clarify this picture. In order to liberate such big urban areas, we need lots of preparation. And that includes battalions of territorial defense that are also participating in the ATO. And you should understand that Donetsk and Luhansk are not a fortress with high rocks around or high walls. These are industrial urban areas with certain environs, private residential areas, and that is also Donetsk. So the main forces of ATO have entered that area, and that includes territorial defense battalions. That does not mean that we are attacking the city. It's a way of preparation. So, and we won't announce any beginning of the operation. We'll just announce the point when the cities are actually liberated. Serhiy Drospin TV. In social media, on the net, we have information on procession of the convoy from Kadyrov supporters from Chechnya. Yes, 2 days ago we announced this information that they were bound for Ukraine, and yesterday the information was received that they are deployed somewhere at the Ukrainian border. We have operation information. As soon as we have information on their trying to enter on their actual entrance, but as soon as they enter, they will become a target. And our aviation yesterday demonstrated their capabilities. We're not talking about terrorists and their losses from the impact, but our artillerists were estimated as excellent aimers and shooters. Can you specify how that happened, that 311 Ukrainian soldiers crossed the border? Is it true that they were from the 72nd Brigade, and why did they have to, or why they decided to cross the border? Thank you very much for your question. Yesterday, about 4:30 a.m., after many hours of shelling with heavy metal, volley fire, grad units, and other weapons, the decision was made on retreat to a safe area for the 72nd Brigade fighters. We decided to deblock that grouping. The majority of them were trying to break through the territory controlled by the terrorists, and the other part was covering them till the last round of ammunition. And another part, together with bodyguards, about 140 people, after shooting their last round of ammunition, they decided to destroy the armor and the machinery and the weapons and to go to the checkpoint of Russian Federation, Hukovo. 195 are back. They were subjected to provocation. Some people are still remaining there, and we're negotiating their comeback also. Shevchenko, about shelling of our convoy, where terrorists destroyed, and is there information with the National Security and Defense Council on the corpse of the killed terrorists? Are they taken to the Russian Federation? Do they remain there? We have to understand that those were weaponless boys escorted by the military police, armed people, and that latter unit actually opposed the offense, and they had no losses, no casualties, and they actually couldn't destroy the terrorists. They had to escort the convoy, protect the defenseless personnel, and get them out of the area, and that was what they did. And the terrorists, all this situation is under the terrorist control. We have some information from intelligence, what they do with the dead, those people who were armed and who were opposing the Ukrainian force. We do not know what their destiny is. 1+1, Konstantin. Can you tell us, please, in Cherkasy Oblast, there's Shpalansky spare parts plant that is still manufacturing spare parts and units for the book units in Russia, the notorious book. I will clarify this issue. We haven't looked into it. What's the name of this factory? Shpalansky? Spola factory. Thank you very much. Is there any information of our losses during the day? Our last day we lost 3 members of our military personnel, 46 wounded. Lots of firing and shelling and counterattacks, engagement with the terrorists. I have 2 questions. Question number 1 about the losses. There's a lot of information in the Russian mass media and those that cover that for terrorists themselves, that's more than 1,500 people killed. You can see the data in the clear mismatch. How can you explain it? And another question, the National Defense Security Council, the SBU, and they are used as extra. You just operate data, but have you done anything to save our boys who were under siege yesterday, under the siege? Are there any reasons or that could make you inform us on such developments? First of all, I wouldn't encourage you to retransmit and broadcast the distorted information originally produced by the Russian mass media and the terrorist outlets. This is my request. And the statistics. There are some pieces of information that can be priced very highly by the terrorists. And we are not a source of information for neither from SBU and SDC. We cannot inform them, and we will never inform them on important developments that may be to the detriment of our operation. Thank you very much.